Downtown, Petco Park, a new beginning, let's go. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Baby said she wanna go to the game. Taught her how to say Padre gang. Started back rocking the brown. Ever since we've been knocking them down. Mitchell and Ness with the old school name. All of the homies holler Padre gang. Yeah, that.
And good day, everybody. Welcome on in to the Talking Friars podcast and pregame show. Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show. There we go. Jumbling up my words because I'm so excited because the Padres have swept the Reds. They are 6-0 against the Cincinnati Reds this season. That is their last matchup of the season. The Reds are not going to be making the playoffs, so they're not going to be facing each other for the rest of the year. But the Padres, they come out of this 6-0, and it was a good series. I think that, could the Padres have had a better run differential? Yes. But you came into this series thinking that you should sweep this series. And what happened? You ended up sweeping the series. So everything is good on that point, And by the way, I am Ben Fadden, your host here. This episode 155 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show is brought to you by GAGLIONE Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries, located in Mission Gorge and Point Loma, as well as inside Petco Park. During the season, you can visit GAGLIONEBros.com to view their entire menu, their phone numbers, their addresses for the Mission Gorge and Point Loma locations. Great cheesesteaks, great garlic fries. They're sponsoring this episode, so make sure to go support them. But getting back to this series, we're going to go game by game just like always, but I just wanted to take a moment to, I might be a little nitpicky at some points during this episode, but I really do want to take a minute here to just be happy that we swept this series. Just be happy that the Padres are off to their best start since 1998, 20 games in. They're 13-7 without Tatis or Snell or Clevenger. Austin Adams hurt. Will Myers now hurt. Trent Grisham hasn't gotten off to a great start. C.J. Abrams hasn't gotten off to a great start. Luke Voit is hurt. All of those circumstances, and they're 13-7. So I want to start off by saying that. Now, after that, the bullpen was not as solid as I thought it was going to be this series, but we'll get into that game by game. Feel free in the chat, everyone joining live. I see Eric there. What's up, Eric? I did have the correct pick again. You're right. I picked Eric Hosmer today, and he ended up having 2 hits. So he leads Major League Baseball in multi-hit games so far this season with 10. All of Major League Baseball. You heard that correctly. Manny had a 4-hit game today. We'll get to that game. But going through every single game of this series, we'll preview the Pittsburgh series as well. But it's a party here on this episode because the Padres have won 3 in a row after losing that Dodger series, which was a little disappointing. I don't want to get too excited because it is the Cincinnati Reds, and even if they sweep next series, they'd be playing great, but it is the Pittsburgh Pirates. It's not like it's the Giants or the Braves or the Dodgers, but I could be a whole lot more mad, right, if they didn't sweep the series or if they lost the series, But I guess we can start off here with the first game of the series, and that was on Monday. The Padres won this one 9-6. That improved their record to 11-7 on the season. A lot of things happened in this game. Before we get to it, though, Mike Clevenger did have a rehab assignment on Wednesday. That was okay. So I don't know why this is kind of out of order here a little bit, but that took place. The rehab assignment was on Wednesday, and then Tuesday was game 1. For some reason that's messed up. For some reason on my notes here, I had Monday. Game 1 was on Tuesday. Padres won by 3. In the bottom of the first, Pham had a single. Profar threw him out at second. And Tommy Pham, there was a couple times in this series where he got gunned out on the base paths, at home plate by Profar. There was one later in the series where he got gunned out, but the call ended up getting overturned. The initial call on the field in yesterday's game was that he was out at the plate, but he ended up being safe. But I guess he didn't learn his lesson. He continued to run on Profar, and he was thrown out in the second after Senzel got to second base on Nola's throw that went off Colin Moran's bat. Moran ended up having an RBI single that made it 1-0 Cincinnati, so a very unlucky play there. But the home run, the pound town, if you will, started in the third for the Padres this series. Ha-Seong Kim had a home run to left field. He almost homered today, too. That line drive hit off the left field wall, almost homered in the fourth. This is where a lot of great things started for Eric Hosmer this series. A 3-run bomb to right field made it 5-1 after Profar had a double. So that ended up being a 3-run bomb. The bases loaded walk scored Myers, made it 6-1. It took 9 batters in this inning for the Cincinnati Reds to get out of the fourth. And this was a game where Joe Musgrove, we learned later that he was dealing with back tightness or some back issues, and so he had to actually go into the clubhouse during that long 8-run inning in the fourth to get that back worked on with a trainer. But Musgrove will take that all day. If he has to go in there and get his back worked on, but that means that the Padres offense scores 8 runs in the fourth inning, I think he'll take it. Cronenworth had a bases-clearing triple down the right field line. That made it 9-1, totally opened it up. Reds scored 4 runs in the fourth and the fifth combined, made it 9-5. But the game was over. The Reds scored one more run. Steven Wilson had a 1-2-3 seventh inning. That made it 20 straight batters that he had retired. After Tuesday night's game, Hosmer led Major League Baseball in batting average with .390. It's now up to over .420, I believe, after this series. And then San Diego was outscored by the Reds in the last 5 innings, 3-0. So if I'm going to be nitpicky, and I kind of alluded to that earlier before getting into these game recaps here. If I'm going to be nitpicky, the bullpen was not as solid as I wanted it to be this series, and Padres had bigger leads than before the series or before the bullpen came in. And when the bullpen came in, there were some guys like Lamet in this game that didn't really help the cause in terms of keeping games at Padres leads at a wider margin than wider margin than they ended up being. So the Padres won 9-6. Overall in this game, you love seeing Haas crush that ball to the Budweiser sign in right field. Then yesterday, he ends up hitting one that goes like 20 rows deep. I know Hosmer's hit 2 home runs this season, and they came both in this series, but if I'm going to remember a Hosmer home run this year, it's going to be hard not to remember this Cincinnati home run that he hit yesterday in the second game of the series on Wednesday night that ended up 20 rows deep. You can find that on the Talking Friars Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. You can find that, the home run there. It was absolutely crushed. And Wednesday, we can move on to Wednesday's game. I thought it was a good win Tuesday. Wednesday, Clevenger had that rehab assignment, 3 2/3 innings, 1 earned run, 4 hits, 1 walk, struck out 5 in 67 pitches. And Bob Melvin said yesterday, I believe, that Mike Clevenger is probably going to go in the 80 pitch range his next time out, and his next time out is probably going to be in the big leagues, at the big league level, starting. And Nick Martinez, I would think, would probably come in after him in a little piggyback type role. But Clevenger, it seems like after that rehab appearance on Wednesday, where he went 3 2/3 innings, 67 pitches, he's probably going to be with the team his next start. That's what Bob Melvin said, I believe, yesterday, and that he'll throw 80 pitches his next start out. So that's all good news on that front. Rehab-wise, Blake Snell, he made a rehab start today, or he is going to make one today in High A with Fort Wayne. I'm looking here if when their game is today. Let me see here. I don't believe that it started. Yeah, it hasn't started yet, but Snell is going to make that rehab start today in Fort Wayne. So stay tuned to the Talking Friars Twitter account, and I'll update you with how he does. But that's a little bit more on the rehab front. There was more injury news that came across, obviously, before Thursday's game. But as for Wednesday, the second game of the series, the Padres end up winning this one 8-5. So they end up winning game 1 by three runs. They win game 2 in this series by 3 runs, and then they win game 3 by 2 runs. So when you're facing the Cincinnati Reds, you would have hoped that they would score, or that they'd win by more than 3 runs or 2 runs in games. But when you look back at this series, comparing it to the Dodgers series where they ended up scoring 6 runs in the whole series, Tuesdays they scored 9 runs. So they score more runs in Tuesday's game than they did the whole Dodger series. Wednesday they score 8 runs, so more in Wednesday's game alone than the entire Dodger series. And then Thursday they score 7 runs today. 1 more run than they scored the entire Dodger series. So they end up combining in the Dodger series for 6 runs total over those 3 games last weekend. This series, they end up scoring 15 in the last 2 games and 24 runs total. 24 runs total in this series against the Reds. So that'll do it. 24 runs, thank you. I'll take that. I asked for more offense. I asked to have a better offense, and that's exactly what I got in this series from the Padres. I'm not the only fan, but I know that fans wanted that as well. But for Wednesday's game, they went 8-5. Luis Camposano had a sac fly to right, made it 1-0 in the second. Trent Grisham had a triple, and he scored on Cronenworth's single, made it 2-0. Profar then hit a 3-run bomb to right center. That was his 5th home run of the year, made it 5-0 Padres at the end of 3. At the end of 2.5. And then the bottom of the third, Pham scored on that double down the left field line that initially was ruled an out. Profar Abrams to Nola, that ended up being an out. But it got overturned, so Pham ended up being safe. It was a good relay either way, though. I want to make that clear. But Profar's home run, his 5th home run of the month, 5th home run of the year. He's been the third, in my book, he's been the 3rd best offensive Padre this season so far. He, Hosmer, and Manny, if they haven't been performing like this, I don't know where this team would be. Certainly would not be 13-7 right now, I would tell you that. They would not have swept this Red series, I'll tell you that. So you can't say enough about Profar's start that he's gotten off to. He's not hitting over 400 like Hosmer is, but he's definitely off to a really good start right now. In the 5th, Hosmer had an RBI single to right, made it 6-1. Just talked about how hot Hosmer is. There you go. Mackenzie Gore, though, was the big story for me in this game. We'll get to him. In the top of the 6th, bases loaded, no outs. Stammen was on the mound to relieve Gore. Struck out Tyler Naquin, got Moran, though, to fly out the left. And it made it 6-2. He struck out India on a terrible call by the home plate umpire, so he barely got out of that inning. In the bottom of the 7th, Pham hit a home run, because of course he did. It's Tommy Pham, a former Padre. That made it 6-3 off Steven Wilson. That was Wilson's first run that he'd given up since April 18th. Steven Wilson has been nails in that bullpen. He hasn't given up a run in 7 of his 9 outings so far this season. So if you're going to give up a home run here and there and you go 7 of your first 9 games without giving up a run, sign me up. I'll raise my hand to that. Sign me up. In the 8th, Hosmer His second home run in 2 days, his second home run of the year. This one was the one that was hit 20 rows deep. That made it 7-3 Padres. Manny had a double off the right field wall that scored C.J. Abrams, made it 8-3. And then in the ninth, Lamet made me and some other Padre fans probably sweat a little bit. He allowed Drury to hit a home run, RBI double by Kyle Farmer. He had 4 doubles, I think, yesterday by himself. Rogers had to come in because of how much Lamet was struggling, and he got the one pitch, the one out save yesterday. Padres win 8-5. Lamet, 0.2 innings of work last night in that ninth inning. 2 hits, allowed 2 earned runs, 2 walks, and gave up a home run. I don't know really where this role is right now. 540 earned run average on the year now. Bob Melvin, I saw in Kevin Acey's newsletter that he had this morning, Bob Melvin speaking glowingly of Lamet still. Like, he still thinks that Lamet has some, like, closer, late inning type potential, but right now, I'm just not really seeing that right now. You know, it sucks to say that, but he's dealt with some injury issues, and I was going on about this in the pregame show. By the way, I have a pregame show, if you don't know, before every single Padre game live on YouTube. It goes up on YouTube every single game before the game, previewing the game, lineups, pitching matchups, what to watch for, my Padre pick. So, like, beat the streak, but Padre version of it. I got that right today with my Hosmer pick. I got that right yesterday as well with my Grisham pick. But getting back to Lamet, who would you trust? You go down the list. Who do you trust more than Lamet? There's like 7 names in that bullpen that I would trust more than Lamet right now. And so if the Padres view him as that high leverage reliever, okay, they might keep him in that 26-man roster come May 1st, but how long does he stay after that? You know, go down the list. Taylor Rogers, I trust him more, right? I know Johnson's on the IL, so I can't include him. But you just go down the line here, and I can go through the bullpen right now. And Rogers is 1, Garcia, that's 2, Wilson 3, Suarez 4, Chris Matt 5, Stammen arguable. I'd probably, to be honest, I'd go him over Lamet right now. That's 6, Hill 7, Avila, I mean, I'm not even counting him because he's going to be sent down. Ray Kerr 8. That's 8 guys for me that I trust more than Lamet right now. And that might be harsh. Okay, if you don't want to put Stammen in that list, okay, I'd say 7 then. But I hope you get my point. Lamet should not be 7th on the list in terms of the guys that I would trust if I was Bob Melvin putting guys out there. That's not good. That should not be happening if the Padres think that he has closer stuff and he has closer potential. I know that he's not going to be the closer this year if Taylor Rogers stays healthy. That's not my point. But I just saw in the newsletter that Kevin Acey wrote today, the Padres believe that he can still be closer-like. He has that closer potential. Okay, you can believe it, but I'm looking at reality right now, and that's just not the way that he's looking right now. But the story of this game, Mackenzie Gore. 10 strikeouts. I posted a lot of Mackenzie Gore highlights on the Twitter at Talking Friars yesterday during the game. That's what I do. If you don't know, I just started doing that this series. I'm clipping a bunch of highlights during the Padres games and posting them on the Talking Friars Twitter, and then the big run scoring highlights on TikTok, Twitter as well, and then the Instagram. Talking Friars, all of those channels. So stay tuned to the Twitter account during every game for a lot of videos, a lot of highlight clips. But Gore, 5 innings last night, 1 earned run allowed, 5 hits, struck out 10, 2 walks, 102 pitches. And for me, when he goes 102 pitches, that's a very encouraging sign for me because that means that Bob Melvin has confidence in him, 1. And 2, that means that they're really thinking that he's going to be a starter when Clevenger comes back. And they're going to have Martinez probably piggyback Clevenger, right? And then when Snell comes back, well, that's another issue they can worry about down the road. A 6-man rotation might happen in June, something like that. But with Gore, 102 pitches, they are starting him. And for me, I totally agree with that, right? What other choice do the Padres have right now? Mackenzie Gore is totally forcing their hand. The whole argument of, so you can send him down when Clevenger comes back up, that is totally out the window, right? Throw that out the window because of how good Mackenzie Gore is pitching. He doesn't allow his run. He doesn't allow a run against the Reds last week at Petco. He allows 2 runs and really 1 run when you think about it, because the Ozuna bloop single was inches from going foul against the Braves in his first major league start in a packed crowd. Then last night, he comes out and arguably has a better start than the start before. He goes 10 strikeouts, 5 innings. I already, talked about all of the box score, about 1 earned run. Okay, you do that, 5 innings, 1 earned run every time out. And I know the Dodgers lineup is not the Reds lineup like Gore faced last night, but if he can do any type of that, just give me quality starts every time out, that's amazing. And especially when we're comparing that to where he was last year. Last year, he was in Peoria because he couldn't find his mechanics. So this is a really, really great development here, and it's been developing now for 2 months, ever since spring training and ever since Ruben Niebla has gotten his hands on him. Really, he's pitched really, really well. And the walks, right? The command was a big question mark last year, especially in spring training. There was points in spring training where they literally had to end the inning without him getting through the inning and getting 3 outs in the inning because of how wild he was. And he just couldn't get it in the strike zone consistently. That's the opposite of what we're seeing out of Mackenzie Gore right now. And he's at the point, he has an increase in velocity. The slider and curveball he used more last night than in the last couple starts, his first 2 starts in the big leagues. He used the slider 28% of the time last night compared to 10% of the time in his first start against the Braves in his major league career. So he's getting more comfortable with his secondary pitches, right? Commanding those pitches a little bit better. Now, if you watch the whole start, were there times where he definitely, was mad at himself because he didn't throw strikes? Yes, of course. But that's just the way it is. But what I'm seeing out of him, the increase in velocity, that fastball up, my goodness, that fastball up is playing in the big leagues. I don't care who you're facing, 97 up in the zone, that's going to be hard to hit. And that 10th strikeout that he had that I have on the Talking Friars Twitter account, you're going to have to go way down because there's so many highlights that I posted. But, that fastball that was 97 and threw it right by Tommy Pham, which you always love to see, right? Always love to see that. Just gas. And then he was dotting 96 on the black one time last night. It was just great to see. He had a really nice snap in the curveball, one video that I saw, one pitch that I was watching last night. So really, really encouraging what I saw from Mackenzie Gore last night. And for me, I know Hosmer hit the home run last night, which was a bomb 20 rows up, but Mackenzie Gore was the story. And so the Padres improved to 12-7 in that start. And it was great. Hosmer at the end of the night last night was hitting .410 after having, I think, a 2-hit night. Just great. It was a great night overall, great win. I know Lamet struggled, but that was the downside. And Steven Wilson, he gave up a run. Okay. He hadn't given up a run going in since April 18th. So I'm not going to overreact to that. So that's the game yesterday, 8-5 Padres win. Again, if you have any comments, make sure to put your comments in the chat or at Talking Friars on Twitter, Talking Friars on Instagram, TikTok. I hope you subscribe to this YouTube channel for daily Padres content. Hit that notification bell as well. Daily pregame shows, postgame reactions, episodes after every series, interview episodes, hopefully every week. I don't think I'm going to have one this week, but I'm trying to get a
big-time guest coming on pretty soon, so hopefully that'll make up for it for you guys. Moving to Thursday's game, today's game. Earlier today, before the game, Will Myers was placed on the 10-day IL, right thumb contusion. The Padres activated Trace Thompson, who was with the taxi squad yesterday. He was in Cincinnati yesterday, but did not appear in the game. He was pulled from the El Paso Chihuahuas AAA game mid-game yesterday. It was a day game, so there was a lot of speculation there. And he ended up being pulled because he flew to Cincinnati to be activated actually later today, before today's game. And Austin Adams, because Trace Thompson was not on the 40-man roster, Austin Adams had to be put on the 60-day. They had to make some room there. So Thompson added to the 40-man, Adams to the 60-day IL with the forearm strain. Remember, he left that April game earlier this month against the Giants about after an inning and a third, I believe it was. That was the game that the Padres got crushed 13-2 by the Giants. Yu Darvish sucked in that game. And so that compounded that game and how bad that game was, the Mauricio Dubon bunt game and all that. But it's not great news for Austin Adams. This guy, he would have been another guy that I would put over Lamet in terms of guys that I trusted more than Lamet right now. But Pierce Johnson's not healthy. Lamet's not healthy either. Pomerantz isn't healthy. I haven't even mentioned him. Morihone. So there's a lot of guys not healthy. You add Martinez now to the bullpen. You put Martinez ahead of Lamet in terms of people I trust. So that's just getting back to the Lamet point. But with Austin Adams, this has like Tommy John surgery or some type of surgery written all over it. And it sucks to say that because of how much I thought he was going to contribute to this team this year, because I thought that last year was definitely something that you just throw out. I mean, he hit like 23 batters. That's like a major league record. He was hitting everyone he faced, and so when that slider wasn't hitting guys in the butt, he was striking out guys. So you figured he wasn't going to hit as many guys, and so he was going to be even more dominant this year. But the season barely got off the ground, and he was walking off the mound with the forearm tightness. And so he's on the 60-day. It feels like Tommy John surgery is coming, and so I would not expect him to contribute in a large way this season, at least the bulk of the season. Maybe he comes back in the postseason or something, but it's a bummer. But at the same time, they have Ray Kerr coming up. Kevin Kopps might be an option, who has come on the show. He might be an option later in the season. Nick Martinez is going to be in the bullpen when Clev comes up. Someone else might be in the bullpen when Snell comes up and becomes a starter as well. Pierce Johnson should be healthy later in the season. Morihone should come back later in the season as well. Michelle Baez, Jose Castillo are all working their way back. So it might not be as big a deal as it seems right now, but you'd rather have Austin Adams with that filthy slider than you would have him having probably surgery and being on the 60-day IL right now. But getting back to Trayce Thompson with that move, I gave my instant reaction on the pregame show earlier today. There's a clip of that on this YouTube channel, so you can watch that when this episode is over. But with Trayce Thompson, he's hit 9 home runs this season. He has an OPS over 1,200, which is amazing. He went back-to-back with Rosario, I think, a couple nights ago for his 9th home run of the year. He's had stints this year in El Paso in 16 games where he's had home runs on back-to-back nights. I think he had one time where he had back-to-back games that he played in where he hit home runs, at least one home run. So he's raking, and I was talking about this on the pregame show. It might be an upgrade to Will Myers, the way that Will Myers started this season. He really struggled to start out this year. Myers, he was hitting under 200, I think, if I remember correctly. Under 200, I can look up the stats right now. Under 200, he had a negative WAR. He just wasn't impacting the team great. He goes on the IL 10-day with a thumb contusion. He had some swelling there, so he wasn't hitting over 200. Sorry, 218. I'm looking at the stats right now. He's hitting 218. His OPS is only 527. The league average OPS plus is 100, and he is at 61 right now. So that shows how below average offensively he's been so far this year. 55 at-bats, 12 hits. Let's see how many extra base hits he's had. 3 extra base hits so far this year. Hasn't hit a home run. Trayce Thompson has 9, like I mentioned, but that was in the minors, but those stats are stats. And so I don't want to say that Trayce Thompson is going to just go be the starting right fielder for the rest of the season, but I think they're going to give him that shot to be the starting right fielder right now. With Matt Beatty, might get some starts, or maybe they do a platoon with Beatty playing against right-handed pitchers and having Thompson hit against lefties. Maybe they do that. But Trayce Thompson's a better power option right now than Matt Beatty is, and Will Myers was not playing as well than Trayce Thompson was so far this year. So this might be a short-term upgrade, and the Padres might,
really, really benefit from this happening. You don't want Will Myers to be on the IL. I'm not saying that you do, but it's a win-win. It might end up being a win-win. You get Will to really shore up that thumb, really get that thumb healthy, and you have Trace Thompson come in, who's on a hot streak right now at the plate, help add to some offense that isn't great right now when you take out Manny, Profar, and Hosmer. And you didn't expect this out of Profar either. So I expected it out of Hosmer, maybe not hitting 420 like he is right now, but you expected it out of him because it's April. That's just the way it is. He was hitting, I think, over 400 last year in April as well. And we'll talk about Hosmer's splits in a little bit and what he's done with his splits, his month splits. Actually, we can hit on it right now because I will hit on Hosmer in a little bit later as well. But like last year, for example, he hit 320 in April, Hosmer did. And then in May, it went down to 247. In June, it went down to 172. So Hosmer, he has a knack of getting off to really hot starts. That's my point. And so I was expecting this out of Hosmer, but I wasn't expecting it out of Profar. I thought Manny had to do really well to help replace Tatis's production. But besides Profar, Hosmer, and Manny, you want some more offense, and hopefully Trace Thompson can do that. So I wanted to hit on that little part of news. BetOnline also, I don't know if you saw this, but BetOnline says the Padres are the 11th most hated team this year based on tweets that they've seen. I have no idea how they compute that. Maybe it's just Dodger fans all from last weekend that they're computing that as the 11th most hated team. I don't know. I don't really know how the Padres can be hated. Is it Padre fans hating on their own team? Like in spring training? Like what? How can you hate the Padres? They have Profar. Okay, maybe the Machado thing, but how can you hate Tatis? How can you hate Blake Snell? Like, I know he's not pitching right now, but like, how can you hate Sean Manaea, right? To me, like, who's hateable, like really, really hateable on their team? The Dodgers have a lot of guys. The Padres, who's like hateable on the team, But that's what BetOnline was saying. So I wanted to say that, note that. As for Thursday's game, the series finale, that was today. The Padres improved to 13-7 on the season. They win 7-5 over the Cincinnati Reds. You'd hope. You go into this series, you want these more to be blowouts, right? But a win is a win. Again, they scored 24 runs combined in this series compared to 6 runs against the Dodgers last weekend in all of that series. So complete outburst offensively, but this is them teeing off against bad teams and playing not so great against the playoff teams. And you hope that changes, but in terms of this series right now against the Reds, you got to be really happy with the results. You just do. 7-5 Padres win in the first. Hosmer had an RBI single to center. Almost ripped Taylor Mailey's the starting pitcher. He almost ripped his head off. 1-0 Padres there in the bottom of the fifth. Mike Moustakas, an RBI single to right center, tied the game up. The Reds 9-hitter had an RBI double down the left field line. His first RBI of his career made it 2-1 Reds. They had a lead there briefly. In the sixth, bases loaded, 1 out. Alfaro had a sac fly to right field. Scored Manny Machado. Joey Votto, for some reason, cut off this throw, and he might have had a play there. But Manny hustled. Wait, what? Manny hustled? Yeah, Manny hustled, Dodger fans. Yes, Manny hustled. You don't have to rip him now. You can't rip him. He hustled. Yep. Padres tied at 2-2. Kim had a bases-clearing double past the diving, sliding Tommy Pham. Made it 5-2 Padres. Tommy Pham, he made 2 sliding catches earlier in the game, but the one that was in fair territory and the one that he should have just took the single there, he ends up trying to be Superman and it goes past him. I don't miss Tommy Pham defensively. I'll tell you that right now. I don't miss him defensively. That was amazing to see. Gold glove defense by Tommy Pham right there. That made it 5-2 Padres. In the bottom of the sixth, Trent Grisham, a diving catch, robbing Tommy Pham of extra bases. So a really bad inning from Pham.
a bad defensive play there, and then in the bottom of the inning gets robbed by Grisham. So you love seeing that. In the 7th, Haas is back at it, an RBI single to right field, gave him his MLB leading 10th multi-hit game of the season. He's raking. Alfaro had a bases loaded walk, a good at bat, made it 6-2. There were bases loaded when he walked. That drove in the 6th run, or walked in the 6th run. In the 7th, the Reds made it a 2-run game. Jonathan India, an RBI single. Tyler Naquin had a sac RBI as well. Made it 6-4. Naquin was the sac ground out to Abrams at short, and he flipped it to Cronenworth. They tried turning 2, but couldn't. In the 8th, so it's 6-4. In the 8th, Manny, his 4th hit of the day. 4th hit of the day. I will have a breakdown on him maybe today or maybe tomorrow morning on Manny Machado's 4-hit game today. 7-4 Padres, that made it. Bottom of the 8th, C.J. Abrams made a nice play. He had 2 errors today, so that was not great to see, but he made a good play going up the middle to prevent any further damage. I mean, a run scored on this play made it 7-5, but that could have been extra bases if he didn't make this play. So 7-5 game, and then Taylor Rogers comes in for the save. Padres win 7-5. Grisham made the catch on the warning track. My heart almost stopped after, I think it was Kyle Farmer made that last out, that fly out to the warning track. It was close to going out, and it was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. Hosmer has a 2 RBI day. Manny has a 4-hit game. Kim almost hits a bomb. And then Taylor Rogers is going to blow it here. But it ended up being on the warning track. I'm curious to see how many ballparks that ball would have been out on. But all that matters is it was at Great American Ballpark, and it was a fly out to center field to the warning track, and the Padres ended up winning 7-5. They sweep the Reds. They get out the brooms against the Cincinnati Reds. And the Padres, I got this tweet from our buddy John Schaefer at Extra 1360. He's come on the show multiple times. Padres 13-7 in start is their best start since the 1998 season, when they started out their first 20 games at 16-4. Now, that kind of puts it into perspective, the start that the Padres are out on. You know, the 1998 team is the best team in franchise history. And so this team that has Jerks and Profar as their left fielder and Luke Voigt as their DH hurt, and Blake Snell and Mike Clevenger not pitching yet, and Austin Adams hurt and Pierce Johnson hurt, this team is has the best 20-game start in franchise history since the 1998 season. I guess that just shows how much they've taken advantage of the easier schedule to start off. You know, they split with the Braves. I know they lost to the Giants and the Dodgers, those series, but they swept both series against the Reds, 6-0, as you see in that episode kind of title there on this YouTube live stream. 6-0 against the Reds. They win 3 out of 4 to start the season against the Diamondbacks. So they're winning the games that they should win. They're beating the bad teams that they should beat. And this next series against the Pirates is another, I think, sweepable series. You know? So they got scored, 21 runs on them against the Cubs like last weekend or something? Like, the Pirates aren't a great team either. So I think this is a team that the Padres should sweep, and they definitely need to win this series against. It's all good and well that they swept the Reds here, but what if they go and lose to the Pirates in the Pirates series starting this weekend, starting tomorrow? Then that almost erases what they've done here. So they got to keep the pedal on the gas, keep their foot on the gas. I think that's how that goes. But a good win. Good win offensively, I'll say that. 7-5. Nick Martinez ends up going 5 innings, 2 earned runs, walks 2, gave up 5 hits, struck out 5, 86 pitches. With Martinez, it seems like it's been like the story of the season for him. You know, it feels like he's going to be in the bullpen to come in after Clevenger. When Clevenger comes back for his next start, whenever that ends up being, and my dorm lights just turned off. That's great. But I got to turn on this. Here, let's see if this works. No, I guess not. All right. Uh, with Martinez, it was pretty much the same story that it's been. The fastball was working, reverse that. The fastball was not working, but the changeup was nasty. The changeup is like all-star level, but the fastball, it hasn't been great. It's some mislocation and some, it's just the major leagues, and they hit it. That's just the way it is. But overall for Martinez, I like that he grinded through it. Again, I love that the walks aren't big. I hate walks. You walk guys, those are just free passes, and they usually end up scoring. So if you can limit those walks to like 2 or less, I'm going to be a happy camper. Mackenzie Gore yesterday, where is it? Trying to find it. Yesterday, he had 2 walks as well, along with Martinez. 2 walks today. So if they can keep those walks down, I'm fine with that. I like where they're coming from. I like the pitching staff there. And this rotation has done pretty well to start, really well. Actually, I'll change that from pretty well to really well. You're going to get clunkers. Martinez, 3 home runs against the Braves last weekend, I think. Darvish, that terrible start in San Francisco. You're going to get duds. Manaea didn't pitch so great against the Dodgers. You're going to get duds. But they're pitching really well against the teams that they should pitch well against. And that's all you can ask for at this point. 13-7, I'm going to take that for sure. I'm going to take that. So, again, their best start is since 1998. The series MVP, my series MVP, let me know in the chat. Let me know who you think the series MVP should be. Before I unveil my series MVP, let me know who you think should be the series MVP. Let me get a drink of water while you guys are giving me your MVP takes. No one? Come on, guys. Who do you guys think should be the MVP? Randall, okay. Haas. Alex says Haas. Longstreet says Haas. All right. Well, you guessed right. My series MVP is Eric Hosmer. I was going to go Manny, but I'll have a breakdown on him later. So I'll give – Ashley says Haas. I agree with you, Ashley. Yep, I agree. Eric Hosmer is my series MVP. Manny, I'm going to give love to Manny. Don't worry. I'm going to give love to Manny later with a breakdown because I loved what he did today. But Haas, in this series, 6 for 9, 2 home runs, 6 RBIs. That is one heck of a series. And, I mean, you just can't – the 2 home runs, the home run that he hit yesterday was an absolute bomb, 20 rows up. The home run that he hit to the Budweiser sign to open the series was amazing as well. The guy entering today was hitting 410. Baseball Reference hasn't updated his average, so I'm going to have to go through MLB.com and see if they've updated it to see what Haas is hitting right now. But just an amazing series. 2 home runs, 6 RBIs that he drove in 3 games. The Padres, as a team, drove in 6 runs. They scored 6 runs all of the Dodgers series last weekend. Hosmer scored that many runs and was responsible for that many runs in this series alone. Him alone. 24 runs combined for the Padres. Hosmer is hitting .415 right now. Manny's hitting .395. Manny has a 1.070 OPS. Hosmer has a 1.072 OPS. So, just amazing start from those two. Profar has an 858 OPS. I mean, it's just an amazing, amazing series from Eric Hosmer. I think it would be disrespectful to give it to anyone else except Manny maybe. But, I mean, Mackenzie Gore had a great start. Definitely had a great start. But you got to count all 3 games that Hosmer had this series. And, yes, did I hate on him before this season started? Did every fan hate on him essentially before this season started and wanted him gone in that Dom Smith deal? Yes. And I'll go back to hating on him if he goes back to the way that he's been the first majority of the first 4 years of his contract. where he's earned $80 million, he's earned 80 million and he's been worth less than 5 million of that. He earned less than 5 million of that $80 million over his first 4 years with the Padres. But if he continues hitting like he is right now and hitting over 400 and hitting bombs like this, I'm not going to hate on him. I'm going to praise him. I'm going to give him the series MVP like I just did. Because I'm a Padre fan. I want him to do well. I don't want him to suck. But I'm just going to give you what I think, unfiltered reality. And so if he's playing well, I'm going to praise him. If he's not playing well, I'm going to criticize him. I'm not going to be scared to do that. And so you can call me a flip-flopper, or you can say that, oh, you can't praise him now because you were hating on him. No. This is being a passionate fan. This is being someone that is looking at the stats and looking at the recency. It might be a little recency bias, but I do want to also say that I do know that Hosmer is not going to continue doing this. He's had a great April, but his past has shown, last year did show that he's going to come back to earth. He just is. No one's hit 400 since Ted Williams. Tony Gwynn couldn't even do it. He's not going to hit 400 this year. But what I will say is he's doing really well right now. And I keep saying for anyone, that, Eric says Ben flip-flop Fadden back at it. I'm not flip-flopping. I'm flip-flopping based on what I said in spring training and in the offseason leading up to the season. But like Josh says right there, where are the Hosmer haters at? I hate when people are saying that right now because you can't hate on him. We're being fans. We're just being reactionary to what's happening. You can't hate on him right now. He's playing ridiculously well right now at the plate. So I'm not going to hate on him. Call me flip-flop or whatever you want to do. Okay. And Virginia says, why are you so negative? I'm not being negative. April is a real thing. Go look at his numbers. In April, he plays really, really well. And then in May, comes back down to earth. And I talked about the stats. I'll read them off again from what he did last year. I'll read you his splits from last year, okay? Let me pull this up again. You can't hate on him right now. He's hitting 415 right now. An OPS over 1,000. His OPS plus is over 200. The league average is 100. So yeah, he's hitting like Barry Bonds right now, okay? I'm praising him. But I'm looking at the history. Last year, if you look at the months, he hit 320 last year in April, and then in May, he went back to 247. In June, he hit 172. Those are the facts. He comes back to earth. So I'm going to continue. I'm going to say it how it is. If he keeps playing well, I'm going to continue praising him. If he doesn't, then I'm not going to praise him. That's just the way it is. I don't have anything out for him. Like, I know there's some people that have, they just hate him. They hate his guts. They hate his personality. They hate his personality and all that. I'm not going like that. I'm not going to go that far. Okay? He has not lived up to his contract yet. And the last 4 years haven't been great, especially 3 of the last 4 years. The last 3 full seasons, they have not been great. So I'm going to take that sample size more than him hitting over 400 in April in terms of me predicting what he's going to do in the future. But yes, Virginia does bring up the point. They have a new hitting coach. Yeah, cool. Michael Bedard seems to be working. If Hosmer continues to do this, the hitting coach, give him the MVP. And same thing with Profar. Profar continues doing this, Give him the MVP, Great job out of him getting some long jangle out of Hosmer, But that's kind of my thoughts on the Hosmer stuff. We could keep going flip-flop back and forth between praising him now, which I'm going to continue to do, like I've said 100 times right now already, and then also go back to the history of him in a Padre uniform where he's crashed back to earth after April. And it's April 28th right now. So I encourage you to pay attention to what his stats are come May 1st. After May, what happens? After May 1st comes around, what happens? I hope that he continues hitting 400, or at least he stays at over 300 and all that, but I'm hesitant to believe that based on his past history. But getting back to this series, he's the series MVP for me. Definitely is. And everyone commenting here, I'll get to all those comments. I did want to talk about this Pittsburgh series real quick, though. On Friday, so we got the Pittsburgh Pirates coming up Friday, Saturday, Sunday, an off day on Monday, and then a 2-game series with Cleveland. Former Padre Cal Quantrill will be starting one of those 2 games for the Guardians before the Padres head back home to face the Marlins and the Cubs, I believe. But for Friday, Saturday, Sunday, we got Darvish on the mound against Zach Thompson on Friday. That's at 3:35 Pacific time, 3:35 on Saturday as well. Sean Manaea against JT Brubaker. And then on Sunday, a morning game in San Diego, 10:35 a.m. Pacific time. Joe Musgrove on the mound against Mitch Keller. So Mitch Keller, I think, is the Pirates' best pitcher. In all 3 of these matchups, you got your 3 best starters on the mound, or your 3 top starters in the rotation, at least on the mound. Gore's been pitching really well. But you have your top 3 starters in the rotation on the mound. This Pittsburgh series, you're facing a Pirates team that is 8-11, so not quite the 3-14 or 3-15 or whatever Cincinnati is right now, but they're still a losing team. They still have a losing record, and they have lost 3 games in a row. They got swept by the Brewers, and they gave up 21 runs to the Cubs less than a week ago. So this is a series I think they should sweep. They need to win this series. That's the bottom line. So let me know your series predictions in the chat. And meanwhile, I will go through these comments here just to get all you guys' thoughts. I know I didn't get through the comments a lot during all my thoughts during this series, but I love doing it at the end to get your thoughts and continuing the conversation if anything warrants it. Let's see here. Longstreet asked, did Voit tear his bicep sliding into home against the Giants catcher? No. AJ Cassavell said today that the slide was not earlier today. He said earlier this week before Voit got put on the IL, it was not because of the slide. Alex Silva asked, what did the Padres start last season 20 games in? Pretty good, remember, because the Padres, they collapsed last year. In order to collapse, you got to start good, right? So I'll look that up for you actually right now. The 2021 Padres started off the season 10-10. Oh, so not that great, actually. They started off 10-10. 55 games in, they were 34-21. So it took them actually a little bit of time to kind of get into their groove. Where this year, they've off to their best start since 1998. Okay, Oceanside Boy answered that. Sorry, I didn't see that. Alex says, Clev going to pitch tomorrow against his former team. They don't play the Guardians tomorrow. They play the Pirates. Ashley says, the bullpen is concerning. A little bit. I agree. A little bit. Not as much. I think it's right to say it's concerning. I like that you didn't put in there, Ashley, that it's very concerning, because I don't think it's very concerning. I trust Garcia still. I trust Taylor Rogers. I trust Steven Wilson a lot. First run he gave up yesterday since April 13th, I think it was what I said. I trust him a lot. Stammen stinks right now, so I don't really trust. I can't say I trust him, but I trust Suarez. I trust Chris Matt. I trust Tim Hill. I trust Ray Kerr. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's 7 guys that I trust right now in the bullpen. So that's not terrible. You'd wish more. Nick Martinez, I mean, I'd like to see him in the bullpen before I put a trust meter on him. But it is concerning a little bit, but it's not very concerning. So I do like how you put that, Ashley. I agree. All right, let's just going through these comments still. Virginia's mad about me, I guess, being negative about Hosmer, and there's a new hitting coach. Hosmer's the one that ends up going up to the plate and hitting. So I'm going to go based off on his track record. That's all I'm saying. I'm praising him right now. I'm not hating on him right now. I'm just putting that, just keep it in the back of your head when May comes around, what he usually does, what he did last season. Yeah, Ashley says, I'm still concerned with Hosmer because he played really well last April, and then ... Yeah. And then came back crashing down to earth. Let's see here. Miguel says, it seems like people hated Hosmer so much where there's now this black cloud around him. Like he's balling out and it seems to be a good dude, a good professional. Can't we just enjoy him? I'm enjoying him right now. I agree. And he's the best teammate of all time, according to his teammates. So, and I've had one personal interaction with him. He signed an autograph of mine, I think in 2019, 2018, something like that. It was a Sunday day game by the dugout, and he was nice. Yeah, he was perfectly nice. He went out to field ground balls, came back, signed the card for me. He was nice. So I have nothing against him personally. I did make a little bit of fun of his wedding, but a lot of people did. But I don't have anything against him personally. I don't. And again, I'm going to continue to be his biggest fan if he continues playing well. I'm a Padres fan. I'm loyal to the team's success. So if he helps the team have success, I'll be loyal to him, Hopefully that makes sense. Randall says, can we trade Will Myers in the deadline before the deadline, I guess is what he's trying to say. I guess you can, but I don't think you're not going to get a whole lot back. The way it's coming off, the way it's starting. Miguel says, by the way, I enjoy your content. I'm just trying to bring some light on the Hosmer thing and gives him the benefit of the doubt. Does he deserve the benefit of the doubt so far this year? Yeah. But does he deserve the benefit of the doubt when we're taking into account his 4 years with the Padres? No. That's where I disagree with you on that point. But I sure hope that he continues it, but I don't think that he will, just based on the track record. I think that he deserves the benefit of the doubt this year, and so that's what we probably should go off of. But in terms of my confidence level, everyone can have their difference of opinions, but my confidence level in Eric Hosmer being like the third best offensive player on this team the whole year, I don't see that happening. Alex says, you see Trace Thompson playing tomorrow? I have not seen that. Let me check Twitter real quick. Who said that? I don't see anywhere, Alex, that Trace Thompson is going to play tomorrow. I think he very well could, because tomorrow is Zach Thompson for the Pirates. And Zach Thompson's a righty. If they play matchups like that, then it would be Beatty and right. But Trace Thompson get a little Thompson versus Thompson. Trace Thompson. Oh, Alex, you were asking. Okay. Oh, do you see Trace Thompson playing tomorrow? Okay. Matchups wise, no, but based on power and just offensive production, yes. Because I think he's a better offensive option right now than Matt Beatty, and Matt Beatty's the only other option. CJ Abrams is not going to be playing the outfield, I don't think. He's played it once this year, right? Once, and he's kind of struggling at the plate. Ashley asked, will Grish find his stride? What I've noticed, he's been having a little bit better at bats. And so that's encouraging. I'd lean towards yes. I'm not going to lose confidence in him. Just trying to do a little bit more research real quick for you, Ashley, on that. Just looking through his StatCast numbers. Because sometimes numbers are a little deceiving. Like, he could, be lining out into a lot of stuff, and that's why his average is low. Let's see. His average exit velocity is down from last year and the year before that. Yeah, see oops, dang, that's yikes. The StatCast numbers that I'm looking up, they're not great. Pretty much everything is in the blue. The chase rate, so he's not chasing much. I think that's what it means. When it's the 95th percentile for chase rate, I don't think that means he chases much, because the red is for great on the StatCast. Here, I can share my screen if that helps. Hold on one second. All right. Here's Trent's stat. You guys can see this? Okay. Here's Trent's StatCast numbers. So right here, its average, oh my goodness, his average exit velocity sucks. 3rd percentile. He's not, the barrel percentage is 34%, whiff percentage 36th percentile, outs above average 33rd percentile, not getting a good jump in the outfield. Hard hit percentage is in the 12th percentile. So everything in the blue here is poor. So hard hit percentage is poor, slugging percentage poor, outs above average poor, whiff percentage poor, barrel percentage poor, average exit velocity really, really poor. So to answer that question, Ashley, I don't have a whole lot of confidence that he is going to turn it around based on that stuff right there. But Ashley says, yeah, what the F? That's so bad. Yeah, yikes. Yeah. I thought those numbers were better than what it is. But yeah, that's a little startling. My goodness. It's like everything's in the blue. So if I'm going to come at it from an optimistic viewpoint, I'm going to say it's only April. So he'll find it. But I'm kind of just searching for answers that he will find it based on what I've seen right there and the at-bats that I've seen him take. And I think he had a little bit better at-bats in this Cincinnati series, but my goodness, those numbers are not great. That's not a great start. And I don't know if it messes with him mentally, like they keep flip-flopping him from leadoff to like 9th in the order based on who's starting. If it's a lefty on the mound, he's like hitting 9th. If it's a righty on the mound, he's hitting leadoff. So maybe that's messing with him a little bit, but maybe he seems like someone that just likes to hit leadoff only. And so maybe it's a routine type thing. I don't know. Because leadoff, like you're not leading off every inning. You're only leading off the first inning. So I don't think that should be that big of a deal. But yeah, Alex, I agree. It's a lot of blue for Grish. So that's a lot of poor StatCast numbers. So it's hard to think that he's going to all of a sudden all those numbers are going to be red. You might see those numbers, be more black or dark blue, where it's more like average, gets them back to average, because there's still a lot of time left in the season. I want to make that clear too. Same thing with the Hosmer thing. There's still a lot of time for him to come back down. There's still a lot of time for Grisham to come back up, and Voit when he comes back, and Myers when he comes back, and everyone. But that's not so encouraging looking at those StatCast numbers. Ashley says, I'm curious to see Beatty's advanced stats. Seems like he hits the ball hard and gets unlucky. He did hit the ball hard this series, and he hit that, remember that San Francisco game? He hit that ball really hard, and it was like barely foul, and that would have gave the Padres the lead in that series finale in San Francisco. I'm just looking at his numbers here. So the StatCast numbers, all it gives me is the exit velocity, which is poor, 17th percentile, and his sprint speed, which is also poor. So it's not giving me a whole lot on that. But so far this year, he's hitting .091, but it's only 22 at-bats. He's not getting a lot of playing time. And so maybe that's an indication that they don't really trust him, and they're going to go to Trayce Thompson this series in Pittsburgh starting tomorrow. Or it's because they felt like they needed to play Myers when Myers wasn't having that thumb issue and he wasn't on the IL like he is right now. But his average exit velocity is down from last year in the minimum playing time that he's gotten. His launch angle's down. Hard hit percentage is up from last year, 36.6%, 33% last year, 30% the year before that. He's striking out less, but again, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense to, Ashley, you're right, not enough sample size. It's hard to make a whole lot of judgments off of that. You have, what did I say? I said 22 at-bats from Beatty so far this year. And Grisham has had 64. So he's had like 3 times that amount. So it's hard to judge that. Any more questions, anyone? And we'll get out of here. But the Padres, again, they go 6-0 against the Reds. This season, Reds are not going to be in the playoffs, so this is the last time that we're going to have to face the Reds, and might be the last time that they face Tommy Pham. You hope so offensively. Defensively, give me to him. I mean, he sucked today defensively. I know he made that. I guess I'm judging it off of that sliding mishap that he had, but I don't miss him in left field, especially when you have Profar gunning runners and making great plays in the gap like he has this year. So that seems like a really good move so far that Preller made, and having Profar play left and not going out for Tommy Pham and giving him $7.5 million. But my big takeaway is the offense. They scored 4 times the amount of runs this series against the Reds than they did against the Dodgers. You needed the offense to play well. And Eric Hosmer continuing to play really, really well offensively. Him and Manny are carrying this team. Profar had a home run this series. Those 3 guys carrying the offense, that's the big takeaway of this series for me, and why that offense scored 24 runs this series. So really, really, really good. Ashley says Pham will be traded to another NL team, and we'll see him like 10 more times. Watch. That's our luck, right? That's our luck. All hail to the new batting coach. That's right. Yeah. That'll end it on a good note. We got Pittsburgh, a series that I hope that they sweep coming up, starting this weekend. The pregame show, as always, tomorrow. Post-game reaction, bullpen usage charts before the game as well. I hope you enjoyed it. This has been episode 155 of the Talking Friars podcast and YouTube show, presented by Gaglione Bros, famous cheesesteaks and garlic fries located in Mission Gorge, Point Loma, and inside Petco Park. Visit GAGLIONEBros.com to view their entire menu. Ben Fadden signing off, your host. Enjoy the night, everyone. Padres have won 3 in a row, and they sweep the Cincinnati Reds.